Alright guys, here we go again. Another of our Evolution Consulting market updates. This one being recorded after trading hours, May 3rd, 2016. Alright, about a 140 point down day on the Dow side, 54 down on the NASDAQ, and 18 down on the S&P. However, couple of things to look at. Today was a unique and interesting day. We saw metals come across the 1300 mark, which we were all very excited about. And of course, not surprisingly, a little bit of resistance at 1300 and back down right about now around the 1288, 1289 mark. But we have certainly established a new normal there. The high 12s, pushing its way to 1300. All right, so it's looking good, and the results have been seen on a lot of the metals trades that we've made, or the paper metals trades, I should say, the GDXJ, the NGDs, the USLVs, NUGT, JNUG, all those. So once again, guys, we take your earnings off of those, especially for those of you that got stopped out, that have been riding those plays from, in some cases, the double digits. Okay, for those of you that got stopped out, sit back, relax, and smile. Okay, all is well with the world. Go down to your coin shop, buy some metal. All right, that is the whole point of this. What we can do is we'll just look for a little bit of stability. All right, that's for the more active traders, I suppose. The guys that are doing the 30, 60, 90-day swing, or maybe just taking our entry points for the 30, 60, 90 extended swing trade type of plays, relax. And as we've said, we've seen the linguistics, we've seen the statistics, we've seen everything that we need to see to know that metals are going higher. Okay, it's not an if, it's a when, and by how much. And again, Shanghai Gold Fix, Shanghai Gold Exchange coming online, guys. That's a real number. That was $100. I mean, basically we were down around the low 12s. Now we're up around the high 12s, and we've even seen a couple in the low 13s. So that being said, guys, metals are going higher. The metals miners are going higher. Those are all still very solid plays. One day does not a trade make. However, speaking of linguistics and speaking of statistics and speaking of getting it right again, as you guys remember, if you listened to me during the when I was doing the test of concept phase in alt media and all that good stuff, or alt news as they like to call it, fringe media, if you will, I talked about the chaos play, and I mentioned it in a couple of days ago in one of our updates, the Strum Ruger play and the Smith & Wesson play, and you guys have seen it if you've been reading along in the commentary section. I make pretty frequent reference to it, which is one of the 3 C's of investing, guys, and that is the whole point of this particular market update piece, is to show that it's one that we're particularly proud of in the sense that it shows information being mined and discovered by the Evolution 4.0 system and then converted into a viable market trading play that ultimately translates to a company's bottom line, that ultimately translates into higher share prices, guys. That is the way it's supposed to work. And if you think it's easy, it took us about 10 years to get it right. So the first C of investing, guys, that we're going to talk about, for those of you who've been following along on Twitter, you see me now kind of cryptically mentioning the 3 C's of investing, okay? And the first of those 3 C's is chaos, okay? And the investing in chaos. Okay, so basically that is where we got the Smith & Wesson play from. That's where we got the Strum Ruger play from. We call it, hashtag buy more guns. Okay, and that's where we got Olin, OLN, which that is the manufacturer of Winchester ammunition. Okay, as the graphic to my left will suggest, 140 point down day on better than expected earnings. Okay, we have Ruger's up 1.5 points. We have Smith & Wesson up just a little less than 1.5 points. We've got Olin up 1.5 points. And then we have FLIR, one of our more recent recommendations, okay? Up a little less than 1.96, a little less than 2% increase. Okay, guys, again, apart from that being a really, really cool example and going, hey, look how accurate the system we built is, that is verification of something that we've been talking about now for over a year. Okay, longer than that. Again, if you go by our test of concept, which is there is a fortune to be made in chaos, believe it or not. And we've often mentioned it, we say World War III averted, so, your Cold War level, large grade standoff weapons platforms, those have, taken kind of a back seat to the more tactical type equipment, the more personal level type equipment. So the reality of the situation, guys, is, on a 140 point down day, we see Ruger, like I said, they absolutely rocked earnings. Okay, Smith & Wesson, same sector, above average demand. Yeah, I can't imagine why. Maybe it's got something to do with the record-setting sales of firearms, for the last year, like we've been talking about. All right, and Olin is another one. FLIR, another play. So to that, we would like to add the following company. In case, if there's one of the 3 C's of our investing, if you're really observant, you could probably figure out what the second one is. Okay, but one of the more important C at this point is chaos. Okay, and we're going to talk about a company that we've actually recommended before, which is Taser, TASR, on your New York Stock Exchange ticker, as it were. All right, and Taser is part of the $8.7 billion non-lethal or so-called less than lethal tactical device market space. All right, so in that market space, you can put capsium or pepper spray, and a myriad of the other stuff, capsium agents, smoke agents, whatever the case may be. But TASR, apart from being the only game in town, okay, for electronic so-called stun guns or electronic incapacitation devices, all right, apart from being the only game in town, we have a list of about 5 factors linguistically that we've discovered that make Taser at the current levels a buy. Now, we've recommended Taser 1.7 for those that were following along or subscribed to Wirehouse. January 7th, we recommended it at 17.40. It went as high as 20.69. Okay, so that would have been a quick little gain, especially if you had a tight trailing stop. And then, admittedly, it did fall out of bed. I mean, it went down around like the 13 level for a little bit. Okay, but we kind of sat down, we re-researched it, and especially with what we've been seeing with Ruger and Smith & Wesson and Olin and FLIR, and that's that whole chaos play kind of starting to develop, we went, let's take another look, and we're kind of glad we did. It closed at 1780 today. We'll get a chart up there. Once again, miracles of modern editing. All right, we're going to get a chart there, and you see the 1780 level close of business today, the 3rd of April. All right, and we're going to say at current levels, guys, or if you want to, once again, you want to put a buy order like we've been doing, $1 or $2 below 1550 to the 1650 level. You can put a buy order in there, right, if you want to see if you can grab a little bit more of a market pullback, or once again, current levels. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about a stock that's been as high as $35 as recently as June and July of 2015. Okay, that said, here's kind of some of our logic behind it. Apart from being the only manufacturer in town, one of the things that we do like about their business model, and we'll start here, is the fact that they use what we like to call the inkjet printer approach to manufacturing. And you say, well, what in the hell is that? Anybody that's gone out and bought an inkjet printer, especially when they do super de-duper sales at places like Staples and Office Depot or Office Max, or whatever it is that you shop for your office stuff, you'll walk in. There'll be a nice inkjet printer there for $100, $200, $300-$400 in a real high end. Okay, and you go, how in the hell could they possibly sell that machine so cheap and make a profit, right? And the fact is that in many cases, guys, they actually lose money on the sale of the actual inkjet printer, believe it or not. And that's all fun and games, and you feel like you won until you walk in to buy what? Replacement ink cartridges. And all of a sudden you go, oh, that's how that works. And that's exactly the same kind of business model that Taser is capitalizing on. For those that are familiar with the units, they come in a variety of shapes and sizes, but the ones that are really selling now for either personal defense, executive defense, personal protection industry, law enforcement, military police, or the militarization of police, the ones that are really selling now are either the pistol-shaped or still, I guess if you want to call it the oversized candy bar-shaped units that shoot the electro dart. So an officer doesn't have to come in direct contact. It's not the old days of the first Taser where you actually had to go up and kind of zap somebody, right? They have 20, 30, 40-foot ranges now, okay, where those electrified darts are shot with, really thin wire, and then, of course, that's how it completes the circuit, and you get the zap effect. Don't tase me, bro. So that being said, those units are one-time use. You put that cartridge in, you fire it, you have to put a new cartridge in. Those cartridges, guys, are not inexpensive, and there is a hell of a markup that comes with them. And you have to remember, military, police, and all these various agencies, government security, personal executive protection, all those individuals that are going to use those devices or carry those devices either along with or in lieu of a conventional firearm, they have to learn how to use them. So, as you're learning and you're training and you're learning how to use those devices, you're using those cartridges, okay? So the inkjet printer kind of ink cartridge mentality works with Taser too. So that's one of the things that we like about that business. It is sustainable, and for those of you that need verification as to why plays like Ruger and Smith & Wesson and Olin and FLIR and others are working, guys, we've seen the previews already. You do not have to be a friggin' sociologist or an anthropologist to figure out that, okay, the frequency and the intensity of so-called, chaos events or civil unrest events are increasing. Baltimore, Ferguson, Florida, Chicago, outside most Trump rallies at this point. I mean, it's, the Bundy Ranch, not to, just so we paint a complete picture there, the Bundy Ranch, those Patriot type events. Guys, those events where those devices are needed or required are increasing in frequency of occurrence, or a number of times they occur in a monthly basis. I don't have a graph to put up, or I don't have a chart to put up. I'm going to try to find one, I should say. If not, well, you'll see it in the edit. But the point of the story, though, guys, Taser kind of capitalizes on that market space. I mean, they're the only game in town. They are one of the premier less than lethal. They're up there with a lot of the capsium and pepper spray manufacturers in terms of popularity of product. And as we've said before, companies like Tactical Systems Groups and Safari Land, they're not publicly traded. We did find one publicly traded company that actually manufactures some of that stuff. But guess what, guys? It's an over-the-counter stock. It's an OTCBB stock, and there's no way I'm going to recommend that here and now. If you're into that stuff and you want that risk of a penny stock, please subscribe to Wirehouse. I will not recommend those publicly here because of the risk associated with it, okay? And that's just not cool. So, that being said, number two that we like with the Taser International is the fact that as we continue to do research, and we continue to do linguistics research, and we continue to do the broad level and the specific level research that we do here, that we enjoy doing every single day, robotics. Now, you might think, how in the hell can Taser kind of capitalize on a robotics play? And the answer is as such. For those of you that subscribed to last month's Wirehouse, or you've been kind of watching some of the stuff we've been saying on Twitter, guys, we're seeing a tremendous advance in the idea or the usage of robots, okay, and groups of robots, something called swarm technology, from law enforcement in a big time good way. What they're seeing is they're seeing kind of the same thing that we are, which is the opportunity to use automated robots in place of human officers in crowd control and in demonstration and large-scale civil unrest types of environments, because it removes the all-important component of racism. All right, guys, let's face it. We exist in reality here. If you want the BS, there's plenty of other places to go. We tell it like it is here at Evolution. That's why we call our audience the 10%ers. Okay, the iconic photo, white cop, in riot gear, black cop in, or Black Lives Matters protester, or there is that icon, and it makes for an easy snapshot, okay, and it makes for easy fodder on mainstream news. All right, departments are looking for ways to avert that, and one of the ways that it's going to be very easy to do that is the usage of AI, artificially intelligent, or programmed crowd robots. And if you don't think those exist, mosey on over to a website called TED. And you watch some of the TED Talks video, and they have swarm robots that are able to actually interact with each other and hold formations and stuff. And it doesn't take really that much of a stretch of the imagination to kind of see that being employed in a ground-based platform. But let's say that does happen, either early pre, or during, or certainly post. I would say certainly, realistically speaking, post-GER. Let's say that does happen. What capabilities are those platforms going to need? They're going to need the same capabilities that a human officer would have, which would be the ability to deploy stuff like smoke, stuff like CS, stuff like capsium, and ultimately, yes, a Taser product. So for Taser to be integral in the manufacturing of either specific equipment for an entirely new robotics platform, or integrating some of their existing stuff into a robotics platform, that is a huge, tremendous growth potential for Taser International. So that's kind of the one that we went, oh wow, that's I don't want to call it a gamble, that's almost an inevitability, but that's one that's worth, we would say recommending. So guys, once again, we're going to recommend Taser 1780. We're put the 1550, 1650 buy order in there. Again, we're going to that's going to round out our chaos portfolio quite nicely with Ruger, Smith & Wesson, Olin, and FLIR. We may add one or two more to that, but we're liking the way that's looking. We're really liking the way the ETFs are performing. We're keeping it simple, just the way the sovereigns and the institutionals are, so we capitalize on a wealth transfer too. All right, but as far as capitalizing on some of the stuff that's going on out there, as far as the social effects of either an economic reset or the increased polarization, and guys, another one, nationalism. Trump's talking about mass deportations and building his border wall, which once again, whether or not he does or he doesn't, by the way, at the time of this recording, he just took the state of Indiana. So he's looking kind of like an unstoppable force at this point. So, as that increased nationalist rhetoric grows, and as that increased, we're going to build a border wall, we're going to deport all the Mexicans, and, the United States goes full Germany 1936, which, once again, how do we make a buck off of it? And, I'm sure it's going to be very entertaining and so forth. But at the end of the day, guys, Border Patrol agents are one of the number one customers of TASR, either the state, regional, and that's not only from us doing Evolution 4.0 research, but that's us also speaking with experts, including law enforcement in Texas that shared quite a bit of information with us, which we're tremendously thankful for. But they are one of the largest customers of Taser International. The Border Patrol units that are down there, be them federal or state Texas level, that is one of their weapons of choice, is the Taser unit. So as we see the Border Patrol stepping up and the possibility of, even volunteer groups, all right, in the spirit of nationalism, if you see, Trump in office, all of a sudden, remember the Minuteman groups and all that fun stuff, the Freedom Army and all that type of stuff, whether or not that's good or bad, we don't say. Okay, good and bad are human constructs, but it's from a purely business perspective, guys, we will tell you that the demand for those products are going to increase. The resulting demonstration of the building of a border wall, okay, you don't have to be a sociologist, once again, to see the logic behind these plays, and what we're doing is, with our 3 C's play, we're cutting through the 4th C, which is crap. Okay, we're cutting through the crap, and we're going, is it a fundamental play? Like GDXJ and and all the golden the other C, which I said I wasn't going to mention, but I almost did. But I'm not going to. The other C is commodities, guys. That's 2 out of the 3. It's chaos, commodities, and the third C we're going to save for a little bit later on. But as far as the fundamental plays, you're seeing it. Again, I mean, the Strum Ruger stuff, like that chaos play here, that's just an example, guys, of just being ahead of the institutional money. Take a look at FLIR. Look at the volume on FLIR today. That's, I mean, if you want to call that above average on FLIR buys, okay, that's institutional money getting in there, proving once again that Evolution 4.0 and Evolution Consulting, okay, we're ahead of that. So what we're going to say is the social effects and the social, I guess if you want to call it fallout of a lot of Trump's policies, guys, that's going to translate into increased demand for companies like Taser, and the future's looking very bright for them. So we're going to add them to our chaos portfolio, if you will. And speaking of, before we sign off here on this one, I know we're coming up on the 17-minute mark, guys. I can only do these in about 20 minutes because it's not enough for me just to tell you to, hey, go buy stuff. If you want that, there's plenty of crap you can watch on television, okay? But it's more important that I share the who, what, the when, where, and the why. And that's kind of what I think is going to make the 10% audience of Evolution different. Is it's not just enough to go, I'll buy that because somebody told me to. It's the logic and the reasoning as to why. You don't believe, you observe, you analyze, and you reason. But speaking of observe, analyze, and reason, we would like you to go to evolutionconsulting.world. There is something we are extraordinarily proud of. On evolutionconsulting.world, we posted it 2 days ago. It is our 120-day simulated trading record. Okay? I'm not going to say anything other than please go look, check it out. We are extraordinarily, almost beyond words proud of just how accurate Evolution 4.0 has been, especially since January, guys. And we did a major algo upgrade, and more recently, towards the end of March, we did another round of major upgrades. And we're coming up on another round of major upgrades, and that's for 4.0. Ultra, we haven't really even, it's kind of built, but it's one of those things that's still somewhat shrouded in secrecy. But we've run a few test rounds with it, and wow is all we're going to say. But for Evolution 4.0, guys, please go take a look at that trading record. We're not gloating, we're not bloviating, to use a Bill O'Reilly word, but we are extraordinarily, extremely, almost beyond words proud of that trading record that's on there. And we're just, again, having one of those days when we stopped, and I did all the numbers on it. I sat back and I looked and I just went, what in the hell did we build here? So please go take a look at that. Go take a look at Wirehouse also for subscriptions, all right? We do put a lot of our cutting-edge stuff in there. But, guys, hopefully this helps you out. Taser, that is the recommendation of the day. All right, guys, and as always, be good. And remember, everything's a transaction.